Hello everyone, welcome back again. So it's been a couple of weeks since the last update video, and as you can see, the workshop looks like a bomb's gone off. We're just having a little bit of a rejig, trying to make a bit more space, which is a standard for any shed. So we're in the middle of that, but what this video is about is we've been able to uncover some photos and information on FTR3, which will detail the history of this car and fill in a lot of gaps that we had. So these photos, which we'll share with you, have never seen the light of day, and it gives a clear explanation of what happened to this car after Glenn Seton finished racing it, when he last drove it, and what Prodrive did with the car when they were finished with it. And it certainly wasn't sold on as a complete car. So we'll share all that information with you now, and this also includes a championship win and a record which will never be beaten, which this chassis holds. So I hope you enjoy. By the end of it, you'll be up to speed on the history of FTR3. So we've covered off fairly well FTR3's first couple of years as far as running Bathurst in 2000, then Glenn Seton raced it throughout 2001. Now at the end of 2001, FTR4 was introduced, which meant the retirement of FTR3, or the planned retirement. Now if we go to the logbook and see here, we flick through it all. So you can see here, it's 2002. If we go back, I'll flick the page while I'm talking. So you can see there, the Bathurst in 2000 was when its first race, and then it raced the whole way through 2001. But it did miss Bathurst because FTR4 was introduced, but it then did return for New Zealand, Sandown. So Glenn ended up staying in FTR3 for the end of 2001, and Stephen Richards raced FTR4 for the remainder of the year. Now, if we roll over a bit further in the logbook, you can see here it reappears in 2002 at the AGP. Now, the plan was to run FTR3 in the non-championship event at the Grand Prix, and that obviously saves FTR4 for the rest of the season. Now, FTR4 was badly damaged at an accident at the Clipsal 500, so they had to roll the FTR3 back out of Phillip Island, Eastern Creek, Hidden Valley, and also at Canberra. Now you can see in the logbook there's a note that obviously passed inspection, but then it's got damage front and rear. And if you have a look at this footage, it was a horrendous weekend for the car. In the first race, you can see that they've got a heap of damage down the passenger side of the car, which the team put back together, but then the car was completely finished off front and rear in the last race.
And oh, what a mess of Glenn Seton. The whole front of the Ford Credit Falcon is a wreck. Somehow he's going to try. Look at the steam and the smoke coming out of the right-hand side of the Canberra complex around the back. And oh, there's nothing worse than crashing your car, but crashing your car right in front of a whole heap of He managed to get through relatively unscathed. Now, Wheel and Seton are still on the road when that turn was taken, but down here, Max Wilson goes wide and crunch.
Boy, Max has been involved in that. Todd Kelly, as Glenn Seton checks out the damage on the Ford Credit Falcon, Todd Kelly has been shown a bad sportsmanship flag for balking Craig Lowndes.
Now you can have a look at these photos which we're able to get our hands on, taken in the workshop after the event. Once the team returned from Canberra, you can see the car is absolutely destroyed. So what ended up happening is FTR4 was then reintroduced, and FTR3 was repaired properly and then sat in the corner. Now we thought that was it for 2002, but if you have a look at the logbook, it actually reappears again in October up on the Gold Coast. So they ran the car again in Indy, which was a non-championship event, again to preserve FTR4 for the championship rounds. Now once Glenn Seton sold his team to Prodrive at the end of 2002, FTR3 and FTR4 were sold with the team. So you can see once again, in 2003 at the Grand Prix, FTR3 makes an appearance again, and that was with David Bernard behind the wheel. Glenn Seton was in FTR4 and Craig Lowndes was in one of the team's new BAs. Now, it's an interesting race, that Grand Prix, because as we covered off in a video a few weeks ago, SBR BA1 had a really strong weekend, won a couple of races and really set the the ball rolling for the Stone Brothers era of effectively domination. Now, you'll see here, FTR3 was a little bit of an unsung hero of the weekend. It did qualify poorly in the first race, but by the end of the weekend, it actually worked its way up to a podium position. But the last race was cancelled due to a crash between Paul Dumbrell and Paul Morris.
And Greg Murphy from position 8. Positions 9 and 10 belong to Dean Canto and the Ford Performance Racing AU of David Bernard. Back down to around 65, 70 Ks. Oh, it's all dicey. Skating on ice, and one of the Orcons has
There's
gone.
not a team manager or an engineer in the pit lane at the moment. Triggered as a result of that. Meanwhile, Russell just cruises along. He's got a huge gap.
Russell, 3.5 seconds.
There you go. Thanks for explaining. And that's a pretty handy lead. And I'd say that that's extended. In fact, it has. The official timing now as he crosses the line shows that he pulled more time on that lap out to 4.2. So that car works well in the wet and the dry, and we need to log that in our minds for a little later in the year. He's also got clean air, which is a critical thing. And the fastest man on the road at the moment is actually David Bernard, who's moved up to 3rd, and then Dumbrell runs wide into the kitty litter. So David Bernard has had a pretty good weekend in terms of his recovery, Matthew. Oh, Dumbrell around. And there's more to that story because there's some damage there in the front right corner.
There you go.
Yeah,
There's the big story. There's a wheel
So the
gone.
2003 Clipsal 500 rolls around, and FTR3's rolled back into service again with David Bernard behind the wheel. Now, if we turn the page, you'll see it was also used at Phillip Island, which back in those days was a one-race format, and it wasn't overly successful.
Rain is interesting fact is they want the tyres to go the distance, and that's what they're worried about. They've roaded all their sets of tyres 2 or 3 times, bringing their temperature up and down. So if they have that faulty tyre that may not make the distance, he reckons that's going to help.
Yes, what they're trying to do is cure the tyre, if you like, and make it a little more impervious.
Clutch is slipping. That could be David Bernard's race run.
Oh, well, had the garage door down there, Rusty. Clutch problem.
And obviously in the single race format, that's pretty catastrophic. You're not going to recover from that. So
David Bernard, whose race appears to be over. David, what can you tell us, mate? It's Matty White here.
Well, it's all bad news for us. We've done a clutch plate right off the line. It's something that's never happened to me, and it's something that happens rarely, but it can happen, obviously. And for us, it happened right off the line. Tried to cool it down, thinking we might be able to save it, but nothing could be done. So here it is behind me getting worked on.
All right, mate. Well, bad luck. Thanks for filling us in there. David Bernard, we've
So it's at this point where FTR3's racing life as a main game supercar starts to close. You can see here, 2nd to the 5th, 2003 at Eastern Creek. That was FTR3's last ever race meeting as a V8 Supercar at a V8 Supercar event. The car ran reasonably successfully throughout the weekend, and David Bernard did continue to race an AU Falcon after this point, but he transitioned into FTR4 as Glenn Seton jumped into a BA Falcon at the Winton round. So this is where we've been able to piece some of the history together of FTR3, which hasn't been told up until this point. Now, these photos that have been unearthed show FTR3 as it was purchased from Prodrive. As you can see, the car is almost a bare shell. All the parts that could be taken off it to keep FTR4 running or to be transitioned into the team's BA Falcons was done so, and the car had been in storage for some time at this point. So FTR's history is a little bit unique in saying that it didn't go through the Dunlop series or the Fujitsu series, whichever it was known at the time. Its main game life ended, it was pulled apart, and that was it. Now at this point it was purchased by Brett Youlden, who turned the car into a ride car. Now when you have a look at, I guess, the similar history between FTR3 and the Super Cheap Auto Falcon, they both became BA ride cars, but they were done very differently. So where the Super Cheap Auto Falcon effectively was re-skinned, the parcel shelf and the front of the car, all the bar work inside the car stayed the same, as the only passenger it took was in the passenger side of the car. FTR3, given it was purchased almost as a shell, Brett stripped everything back and did everything properly. Now you can see in some of these photos, all the white paint was pretty ordinary inside the car. It had had a fairly hard life, keeping in mind it raced over several years, being 2000 all the way through to 2003. So the car was built properly. So Brett completely stripped it. It had the cage work modified at the back to suit a passenger at the rear as well. And it had new dash fit out. It had a whole heap of work done to it to really present as a brand new car again. Now, as I said a few times throughout the teardown process, which you'll see in the videos, it was almost criminal to pull this car apart because it's absolutely beautiful. But really, to get the car back to what it was, I guess as it was better known in the early 2000s, we didn't really have a choice. But after Brett had built the car, it took many passengers around. John Bow took passengers around as well. And the car then spent a fairly long life as a ride car. When this chapter closed, it was then sold to Darren Salliard, who raced it in a range of events, New South Wales sports sedans, touring car events, and it was extremely successful. Now that's an interesting point, because if you have a look, you look at the cage work in the car, the cage work, as it still remains today, is really built purely for passengers. It's not built to stiffen the chassis up, and it would have lost a lot of rigidity when these bars were removed. So the car was still very quick, or admittedly not against V8 Supercar competition, but it was still punching out very respectable lap times. So Darren raced the car around many events over several years, and then the car went into storage. Now, one little piece of history that this car has, which will certainly never be repeated, it competed in the last race meeting at Oran Park, and it was the last V8 Supercar to win a race at Oran Park, and certainly the last V8 powered car to win a race. So there was an MX-5 race, which was the very last race. FTR3 was in the second last, and obviously they weren't V8 powered. So a little slice of history, given the long association the V8s had with Oran Park. It's pretty cool to know that this car took the checkered flag for the very last time. So we'll continue to push on here, and hopefully over the next week or so we'll have all these renovations finished and we'll be back on the tools again. And as soon as we are, we'll share the details with you as the cars progress along. So thanks again for your support. If you've got any questions, feel free to let us know, and we look forward to having more for you soon. Thanks again.